Well, students, today we will start our discussion on derivatives, which is the main topic of our course. The first question is, what is a derivative? Well, a derivative is a contract between two parties that binds a trade between them in an asset. Okay, so let us try to understand it more closely. Derivative is a contract basically between two parties, and this contract binds a trade between them. The person who initiates this contract is called a writer, and the person who takes interest into it and go for this agreement is called a holder. The date at which they both mutually agree with this contract is called a issue date, and the contract is about trading in some asset which is called an underlying asset. So the issuer, that is the writer, may be a seller or a buyer. Let us say the writer is a seller, for instance, shows interest to sell the asset on a future date. Okay, so let's say they came together to agree for this contract on the 1st of January, and the seller, that is the writer, says that she is willing to sell the asset on 25th of March, say some date in future. Okay, for instance, in this contract, I have just taken it as a stock. The writer is willing to sell, in this example, a set of 100 shares in some company on 25th of March. That's a future date, and the holder is willing to buy this share. And what price it is called the strike price. In this example, it is 125 rupees per share. Like that, he is willing to buy 100 shares. Okay, so this is a typical example of a derivative. A derivative is a contract between two parties that binds a trade. Therefore, once they agree, they have to execute this trade on this date, irrespective to whatever may be the price of that asset in the market on this date. Okay, so they should not worry about what is the value of the asset on this particular date in the market. They have to obey this contract by executing it. It means the writer, if agreed to sell, they have to supply 100 shares, and the holder, if he is a buyer, he has to pay that money and buy this 100 shares necessarily from the writer. So that is the contract. It's a binding between two people on an asset. So the asset which is on which they have made the contract is called underlying asset on a future date, called the expiry date or expiration date or delivery date, and some predetermined price of the asset called the strike price. Okay, in this example, the date on which they made this contract is 1st January and the expiration date is 25th March. The underlying asset is a stock and the strike price is 1,285 rupees per share. Okay, so these are the basic parameters for the derivative. There are few more that we will come later. It's not necessary that the underlying asset has to be a share only. Okay, it can be a share or a index like Nifty, Sensex in India. The underlying asset can even be commodities like crude oil or gold or some other metals, or even some food materials like pulse, rice, corn, and so on. It can be currency like Indian rupees or dollars or euros and so on, or it can be even on the bonds. Okay, there are two types of derivatives basically. One is a contingent claim. In this, the holder has the right but not the obligation to execute the contract. Okay, it means what? The holder on this expiry date, if he wishes to execute this, then he will do it so. If not, he will just tear this, throw it off and go. Okay, so that is what is called the contingent claim. in the contract, the holder has only right but no obligation. If he wishes to disrespect this contract, he can legally do that. Okay, so that is what is called contingent claim. We will see that option is the contingent claim. Okay, so the option is a derivative in which the holder has right but no obligation to execute the contract. Okay, so what they do is, as we have seen in the first lecture, to get this contract, the holder can pay money, some token amount, and buy this contract. And then later, to buy the asset, he will pay another level of money, but this is the initial level of money that he pays to get this contract. Once he do that, then as an appreciation for this initial payment of the contract, he has only the right to execute it but no obligation. Whereas the writer has obligation to execute. It means if the holder says, I want this asset, you supply, writer should supply that. Okay, so that is the contingent claim. Okay, the holder has right but no obligation, but the writer has obligation. Okay, right as well as obligation to execute the contract. Okay, this happens when the holder pays some money, the price for that contract. Okay, such derivatives are called options. Another type of derivative is called non-contingent claim. It is just in contrast with the contingent claim, that the contract where both writer and holder, so mainly the holder. In the previous case, writer anyway has obligation, but in non-contingent claim, both writer as well as holder has the obligation to execute. Therefore, the holder will not pay any money for holding the derivative. Okay, in return, he has obligation to execute it. Okay, irrespective to whatever may be the spot price, that is the current market price of the asset on the expiry date, both writer as well as holder has to execute the contract. That is the non-contingent claim. Forwards, futures, and swaps are non-contingent claims. So there are basically three types of non-contingent claims. One is forward, another one is future, and swap. We will see everything one by one. See, a derivative itself has value. Okay, as time goes, it gains value. We will see later. And hence, it itself can be regarded as a financial instrument. So the derivative itself is a financial instrument. Derivative as a financial instrument can also be traded in the secondary market, and therefore it can be easily converted into cash. In that way, derivatives are even securities. If the writer is writing this for selling the asset, we say that the person is taking a short position. Okay, if it is buy, then we say that the person is taking a long position. This is true even for the holder. If the holder is looking for a contract where he buys the asset, then it means he is looking for a taking a long position. And if he is taking a contract to sell, it means he is taking a short position. So later we will use this word very often. Before proceeding further into the theory of derivatives, let us first understand the basic purpose of the derivative. To understand the basic purpose of the derivatives, first we have to understand the nature of the traders, that is the participants of the derivative markets. The traders in a market can be categorized into two types based on their nature. One is the risk aversion nature. These are the traders who tries to quantify the risk involved in the trade that they take, and then they try to balance it through some alternate trading or investing strategies. It means they will first try to judge how much risk is involved in the trades that they take and try to see some alternate ways that can balance their risk. In the process of balancing, in fact, they do not even mind to give up some part of their potential gains through their risky trades. Let us take an example. Suppose you have 100 rupees Instead of putting everything in a stock, which is very risk, you can put 50 rupees in a stock and then you put remaining 50 rupees in some riskless investment. So such a strategy is called the diversification. So that is, you have diversified your investment into risk and riskless instruments. So in that way, you are trying to balance your risk. See, if you would have put the entire 100 rupees in stock, you potentially increased your chance of getting a good return, but now you minimize the chance in order to protect your capital by diversifying it to riskless investment. So this is one example where you try to balance your risk. Traders with risk aversion nature generally look for such opportunities to balance their risk, of course, by compromising some amount of profits. Any strategy that is adopted to reduce risk in price fluctuation of an asset is called hedging. A trader with risk aversion nature may be called a hedger. In contrast to the risk aversion nature, there are traders who have risk seeking nature. They are the people who don't mind taking high risk in order to make a high return. That is, in order to increase their gains, they don't mind taking high risk. For instance, you may just invest all your money into a stock which wildly fluctuates. In that process, you may get a high return. That is, you may have a high chance of getting a good return. That is the idea. Trading in a risky securities with the hope of making profits in a short span of time due to the market fluctuation is called the speculation. Traders with risk-seeking nature may be called as the speculators. So these are the two types of traders in the market. One is the hedgers and another one is the speculators. Derivative markets are developed mainly to serve the purpose of hedging. However, due to the increasing popularity in the derivative markets, these markets have high liquidity. It means there are many traders who participate in the derivative markets, and hence securities traded in the market have high price fluctuations even in the derivative markets. So speculators naturally get attracted towards the derivative markets also. Hence, a derivative market is a combination of hedgers and speculators. It means the derivative market is primarily developed for hedging, but due to its increased liquidity, even these speculators get attracted, because the more the liquidity, means the more the traders is, the more the fluctuation is in the market. Therefore, the speculators get attracted to the market. So today in derivative markets, you see both hedgers as well as speculators. Due to the active participation of the different kind of traders, in fact, the arbitrage opportunities pop up naturally across the markets when you combine, of course, the spot market and the derivative markets. So once arbitrage comes, even the arbitrageurs also get attracted into the derivative markets. Therefore, you will see that the derivative market has hedgers, speculators, and arbitrageurs, and thereby making the market more complicated for trading. In our course, we develop the theory mainly by keeping hedging strategies in mind and develop derivative pricing models. We will start our discussions with forwards. As I told you earlier, a forward contract is a non-contingent claim between two parties to buy or sell an asset on the expiry time for a fixed strike price. Since forward is a non-contingent claim, both the buyer and seller of the contract have obligation to execute the contract at the expiry. The forward contracts happen mostly on a platform which is called the over-the-counter market. So this is in contrast with the exchanges. The over-the-counter markets are non-regulated markets that operates through phones and emails and through agents or financial institutions, and establish their contracts with each other. Let us see an example. A software company who takes order from some firms, say from abroad, say the firm in US wants to develop some software for their company. They give the requirements to a software company in other countries, like for instance in India, to develop the software for them. So the Indian companies, they develop the software and deliver it to this US based companies. This is how the link between a firm in US and a software company in other country happens. So when it comes to the payment, the US companies make the payment in dollars, whereas the Indian companies want the payment in rupees. Say, for instance, the US company asked the Indian software company to deliver their software on, say, 30th June, and they make the payment, say, $1 million for this. And this agreement is, say, made on 1st January. So in 6 months, the software company has to develop the software and deliver it to their client, and the client will pay $1 million. Suppose if this is the deal today, that is on January, the software company has to appoint the required employees to finish the job. For that, they need to have an estimate of how much rupees they will get through this deal. That depends on what is the exchange rate of US dollar versus Indian currency on 30th June. Say on 1st of January, the US dollar is trading 72 rupees per dollar. It doesn't mean on June also it has to trade at the same time. So we don't know on January 1st what will be the dollar price on 30th June. Okay. So therefore, if you see the cash flow of this software company, well, you have today on January, you don't have any cash flow, but on 30th June, you have $1 million. Okay. Up to here, it is a deterministic cash flow. But when you convert it into rupees, you don't have a certain amount of rupees. Okay. Well, as per today, it is 72 million rupees, but on 30th June, you have uncertainty in what is this price. Okay. So therefore, there is uncertainty in making any plan regarding this in their management. So in order to minimize this uncertainty, what this software company will do is they will try to establish a contract with a bank or a exchange broker that they will sell $1 million on 30th of June. So that's a contract they will make. Now, what is the price? The price will be quoted by the exchange or the bank. Say, for instance, they quote 73 rupees per dollar. So it means the strike price is 73 rupees and the expiration is 30th June, right? So in that way, the software company had made a deterministic cash flow for their company. So that is the main advantage for having a derivative. Here, since the software company is directly dealing with a currency broker or a bank, it is not through a regulated exchange like National Stock Exchange or Bombay Stock Exchange. So therefore, such a trade is actually called a over-the-counter trade, okay, where they don't approach a regulated exchange, but they go to directly the people who are the counterpart of their contract, and they make a deal through phones or emails like that. Okay, there are also intermediate regulators for the over-the-counter operations. The advantage of over-the-counter operation is if you are little talented, you may have better negotiation with your counterpart and get a striking price which is not quoted in the exchange. Whereas if you go through the exchange, the price is as per the exchange fixed through the trades. And disadvantage is that there is a default risk. That is one of the party in the contract may default if at the expiration the rate is not at favor of them. So that's the disadvantage. Advantage is the flexibility in fixing the strike price. Let us now discuss the theory of forward contracts. As a first step, let us introduce some notations. The issue time, that is the initial time at which the contract is initiated, is generally denoted by T is equal to 0. And the expiration time, that is the delivery time, is denoted by T equal to capital T. The strike price, which is also called the forward price, often we call it as forward price, is denoted by F of 0, T. The spot price, that is the price in the spot market at any time, is denoted by S of T. Here I should mention that what we are discussing is the forward market. That is, we are trying to fix the price of the underlying asset at some future time, but parallelly there is also the market called spot market, where the same asset is trading at some price, not necessarily at the forward price quoted in the forward market. So this, in spot price, if you buy the same asset, the delivery will be on the same day. In fact, in exchanges, it is within 2 working days, they will deliver your asset. Okay, so that is the spot market. So in the spot market, that is in the market in which the delivery happens almost immediately, there the price is denoted by S of T. It means that is the current value of the asset, whereas this F is the value of the asset at the time T equal to capital T. At time, say T equal to 0, you have agreed with this price. It doesn't mean the next day or the next to next day and all, some people, some other two parties comes, meets and makes a similar contract for the same expiration date, need not fix with the same value. They may fix with some other value. Say for instance, on 1st of Jan, you and another person has fixed a forward with F of 0, say 1st of April, as say 100 rupees. The same 2nd Jan, some other 2 people, they may also go, that is, this is 1st of Jan, which you made it as 0 because you went into the contract with another person on this date. So for you it is 0. For somebody else, okay, this is 0, and they may also make this contract for the same April. That may be different because that depends on that person and that person's counterpart. What rate they agree with will happen to their strike price. Okay, that depends on the next day what is the spot price. If the spot price suddenly picks up, then some 2 people may agree to do it for a higher price, right? Or if it suddenly falls down, then they may not go for the same price. They may go for a little less price because in the spot market the value is going down. Okay, for them it is 0. For you it is, say, 2nd Jan is for you maybe some T. Okay, it's not 0. For you 0 is this because that is the time you have made this contract. Okay, like that every day somebody or the other will be keep on making the contracts for the same expiry, and their rates will keep on increasing or decreasing, whatever it may be, it will keep on going. So the forward price for the expiration is same, but the issue date will go as the time goes, evolves in time. Okay, therefore the forward price will also evolve in time. Mainly it will depend on the spot price, as well as it depends on the traders who are participating in the forward market. Okay, so this is not spot price, this is strike price. The strike price at T equal to T for some T between your initial time and the expiration is denoted by F of T, capital T. Now we will define a quantity like this, or F of T. This is the variable and this is the parameter. This is the return. You can see that at every day, say for instance, on 1st Jan, you made this contract for the expiration of say 30th April and you paid say 100 rupees. You fixed the strike price as 100 rupees. So it means f of 0, comma, let us call this as capital T and this as 0. Capital T is 100. Okay. And then on say 5th of Jan, we will call this as T. Some two people have made the contract among themselves. For them, it will be 0, comma T. For you, it is this T, comma capital T. Say they fixed it with say 102 rupees. Okay. Therefore, for you, as per with respect to your contract, you are gaining this much amount. So this is called the return in your contract. So this is a property that we always have. You can think why it happens. Okay. So F, it means if somebody is making a forward contract on the expiry date, that has to be equal to the spot price. Okay. This is a very naturally it happens. You can think why it is. Okay. It always happens like this. See, I'm always telling that it's expiration date or time, but there is a vagueness involved in it. Okay. Generally, what happens is this happens on the expiry date at the closing time of the market. Okay. But in our discussions, we generally ignore this time and date concept. Okay. The next concept is the payoff. What is mean by payoff? Let us understand this. The payoff from a forward contract the contract is initiated at t equal to 0. Okay. What is the payoff from the contract? Is the trader's total return from the contract till the expiration. If you recall, the return was like this, right? Return given like this. The total return means what? You will be putting f of t, comma capital T, right? Because till the expiration, that happens to be s of t as per the way the market goes. Okay, so this is a kind of given condition to us always. This is true. So the total return from the contract till the expiration is actually RF of, so remember this notation was RF, whatever T you are calculating that comes here, and your contract from which date to which date you are considering. Okay. So in this case, you are considering it from the date on which you have initiated it to the expiration date. Okay. And its return on some date t in 0 to t. That is the general definition of the return. And payoff is in particular, if you put this t is equal to capital T in this, you will get the payoff for the long position. So you underline this. This is for the long position. The return that I have given here is for the long position. Okay. It means what? From the point of view of the buyer. Long means always buy and short means sell. Okay, that's the technical word we generally use. So from the buyer point of view, this is the return. From the seller point of view, what is the return? It is the minus of this, right? Right. That is what we see here, given by RF for the long position, and minus of that is the payoff for the short position. It means for the seller point of view, minus of whatever we have given as RF at the time t equal to capital T is what they finally get as payoff from this contract for the person who is shorting, that is, who is going for a selling part of the contract. Remember, the contract has two people, one is the buyer and the other is the seller of the underlying asset. So the payoff for the long and the short are visually represented like this. Here the x-axis is the spot price at expiration and y-axis is the payoff. Let me write the expression for the return here for our reference. You can see that the payoff is the return at t equal to capital T. Therefore, it becomes S of t minus f of 0, t. From here, we can see that if the spot price, that is the current market price of the asset in the spot market at the expiration is zero, say, just imagine that it is zero, it means the long counterpart of the contract loses all the money that he or she has fixed as the strike price, right? Therefore, the payoff for the long in that case is minus f of 0 comma capital T. From there, you can see that if the spot price is something greater than 0, as the spot price increases, you can see that the payoff increases. If the spot price at the expiration, that is at the time of expiration in the spot market, the asset was trading at, say, at par with the strike price, that is S of T is equal to this, you can see that both get cancelled here and you get the payoff 0. And if the stock price in the spot market closes at the expiration, which is more than the strike price quoted in the contract, then the long position gains money. Okay, so they will be in the gaining side. Just the opposite, the reverse will happen for the short position. That is, the person in the contract who is going to sell will gain the maximum if the spot price was 0. Okay. Of course, the spot price will never be 0, it's just theoretically you think. Okay, that's the maximum that they will be gaining. Okay, and if the spot price is equal to the strike price at the expiration, both the long as well as short will not gain anything or lose anything. Okay, whereas if the spot price is greater than, that is in this region, greater than the strike price, then the short will be losing the money in this contract. So that is the idea of payoff.